we're going to head in a different direction here. And let me give you the background. I saw this clip early this morning from the Chris Collinsworth podcast featuring Richard Sherman with Jon Gruden, the Raiders coach, as a guest. I saw the clip, and I thought, you know what? I got enough to worry about today. I got enough to deal with. I got enough people mad at me because we made an issue out of the comments that were made by Devin White earlier this week about the roots of a potential bounty program in Tampa Bay, something that could grow into that in the future if they're not careful. I don't need Twitter harassing me any more than it already does. I can't say I'm blameless. I don't want to be like Antonio Brown. I kind of troll Twitter, and I know what I'm going to get in response. But I just decided I don't want it. I can't do it. And then I started hearing from executives with other teams who saw the same clip I did, and they're like, how can you not write about this? This is a classic case of a blatant violation of the rules. Here is the exchange between Collinsworth, Richard Sherman, and Jon Gruden from the latest edition of the Chris Collinsworth podcast.
I've been punished very, very harshly. But Richard Sherman, if you are a free agent, which there is a rumor you are, we are looking for an alpha presence in our secondary, somebody that can play this Hawk 3 press technique with the read step. If you're available and interested, maybe you and I can get together at some point off air, brother.
Yeah, there's a conversation to be had for sure. I am free and available these days, fortunately and unfortunately.
Now, we didn't play the part where Chris basically fires the warning shot in a jovial way to Jon Gruden to keep him from getting himself into trouble. And when Sims and I are interviewing guys, and I've kind of had to reel Sims in at times because he'll ask guys about players under contract with other teams, and he's learned. You can't do it, and we don't want to set a trap for someone. And Chris went out of his way to clear the trap off of the path, and Gruden ran into the brush and jumped in the trap with both feet. This is as blatant an example of tampering as I've ever seen, because Richard Sherman is not a free agent. He is not available. He remains exclusively in the employment of the San Francisco 49ers until March 17 at 4:01 p.m. Eastern, period. And even though it seemed like it was lighthearted and joking, it is still a classic textbook-defined violation, Charean, of the tampering rule. If the NFL doesn't do anything about this, they should just rip up the rule and throw it away.
And there's no question about that, Mike. And again, we link players, right? You're already linking Richard Sherman to Las Vegas because of his relationship with Gus Bradley. So he's already been linked there, and it is blatant. And, this is another example of the Raiders and Jon Gruden just basically laughing in the face of the NFL and its rule book. I mean, they're already appealing that 6th-round pick they lost coming up for this spring because of the continued violations of the coronavirus protocols. We saw it again and again and again repeatedly during the season. We saw Jon Gruden get fined during the season for that. So this is just another example, Mike, of the Raiders kind of just throwing the rule book into the NFL's face and saying we're going to do whatever we want to do. So they do need to be penalized for this. Otherwise, just let everybody talk about every player on another team at all times.
Yeah, and look, every time I raise this issue, I will have the pushback from those who will say I'm being the hall monitor. Why are you snitching? Look, there are rules. They either have meaning or they don't. Yeah. If they don't have meaning, if they're not going to be applied, get rid of them. And Chiefs fans may remember that there was an occasion 5 or 6 years ago where Andy Reid spoke to Jeremy Maclin, who had become a free agent or was about to become a free agent with the Eagles, during the window where it was permissible to speak to the agent but not directly to the player. Andy Reid spoke directly to the player, and the Chiefs got hammered for it. They appealed. The penalty was reduced a little bit, but I still think they lost a 3rd-round pick over it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to hit the Chiefs for Andy Reid having a conversation directly with a player that he drafted, and he had extensive conversations with in Philadelphia on the eve of free agency, how can you look the other way when Jon Gruden is blatantly violating, disregarding, and ignoring the tampering rules on the record in a public conversation, Charean? You can't reconcile the two.
Yeah, you can't ignore it, Mike. If you're the NFL, you just absolutely can't. It just opens the Pandora's box if you do ignore it. So I think they need to lose a draft pick at minimum here, maybe some cash too on the side. Whatever the penalty is that the NFL wants to enforce, they need to enforce it.
And it doesn't matter if the 49ers have no intent in bringing back Richard Sherman. It doesn't matter if Sherman has no intent in rejoining the 49ers. It doesn't matter if the 49ers don't even make a complaint with the league. It is hiding in plain sight. The league doesn't like to flag for the rest of us, hey, there's a cheater over here. Hey, there's a cheater over there. Sometimes the league is forced to act when something this blatant happens. This is on Jon Gruden, and whatever the punishment is, it is entirely and exclusively his responsibility.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.